Hello and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Show. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Jack Burkart. Jack, this is the third place game. Uh, yeah. So
Yeah,
congrats. Welcome to the third place game. You ready to talk about this one?
yeah. Well, we made it. Thanks to everyone who's been listening to us and hanging out with us while we've been grinding through all of this. And yeah, it's time to award some medals. As far as being ready for this slate, I don't think that is possible to be ready for this slate because it's going to be a challenge to figure out who the heck is even going to play in the first place. And pricing's kind of soft, so it's going to be a true play whoever you want fest. So probably some advantage to being prepared and being ready to pivot when some of these guys who we've never heard of end up starting. So it
You're
should be
gonna
a
have to
fun one.
pivot your entire team. I don't even know if that's the right word.
Rebuild.
Yeah.
I'm being
So
optimistic.
since this show is going to be less popular, I wanted to bring up to you. So you heard of this Chat GPT thing that's been in the news for the last week?
Yeah. So apparently someone gave it a math exam and it got like a B on it in my
Oh,
department. So
okay. So it's not
yeah,
very smart.
we're screwed. But yeah, go on.
Well, I was thinking, I was listening to a podcast last night. What's preventing someone from using this Chat GPT and just asking it to put together a DFS lineup? Let's say it's for this one or the final, whatever. Put together a DFS lineup for this showdown in a 1-0, 2-0 result or something. Specify what result you want, and that's going to win 100,000. So it's
Hmm.
going to put in, it's going to make this completely different lineup that no one else is going to have. And like, what's to prevent someone from doing this, or even saying make 150 lineups for me uh, for the showdown? You think this is going to be a thing in the future here?
Oh man, I hope not. That sounds pretty sophisticated if it would be able to do that. I think what it might be able to do is like maybe recommend plays or something like this, give you like little sentences about, oh, this guy's the set piece taker for so and so, so it feels like he has a good floor. So I don't think Chat GPT is that powerful yet. But yeah, if Chat GPT starts 150 maxing, we might have to find a different game to play.
When you see Chat GPT username just sitting there in the lobby, you don't enter that
Well,
contest.
here's a theory. So no one knows who Redcoat 85 is.
Uh
Uh-oh. I'm just throwing that out there. So I'll let you all follow the breadcrumbs on that.
yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to bring that up on this show so it doesn't for all the listeners of the final, they don't get any secrets
They
to
don't get the
how to
secret
win.
strategy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, really, that app, that bot, or whatever you want to call it, it's just going to be pulling stuff in from Google. So it's going to be pulling in stuff from like RotoWire, pulling stuff from whatever sites that are talking about this. So I mean, I guess it just takes all of the recommendations into account and does that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then it spits something out. It'll probably like look at old touting articles and figure out what people prefer just based on that. I don't know. I don't know if it can optimize though, right? It can just like make logical sentences, but
It
it
could.
can do math. Like it can calculate, like it can do like linear algebra. So
I'm sure if
not
you
to get
got it
nerdy.
to like use an actual optimizer, I mean, could figure it out.
Yeah, probably better than I could.
All right. So this slate is almost impossible to talk about right now. We have the lineups here. We'll see what happens. We don't know if a lot of these guys are going to be playing. We don't know. Like, I mean, I think the main question is for guys like Modric, Perisic, Kovacic, like the regulars, the guys who play 90, guys who start for their club teams. Like, do they want to play in this game? You can go and look on the other side. You can say the same thing about Ziyech, but I guess technically he doesn't play for Chelsea. So you,
Harsh.
you got that in there. So you have all those questions of if these guys want to play, if they're going to play. And then you look at some of the injuries, and Morocco's the majority of their back line's injured. So it seems fairly safe that we're going to get like Atiat Allah, Dari, El Yamik in there. Hakimi is the question for them. And then with Croatia, it seems like Sosa's going to be out. Juranovic is going to be out. So it seems like we're going to get Barisic, Stanisic playing fullback. And then those seem like the spots where we at least know that they're backups or those guys are going to start. So that we can at least build off that. Everything else we can't build off of. We don't know if Woodrich or Perisic are going to start. We don't know, I guess, if Ziyech is going to start. So is there a good way to just start talking about this slate, or do we just go in, just start naming names and go from there?
I think we'll just have to maybe state some assumptions and then talk about things in hypotheticals. But yeah, I feel like we do know who's going to be starting the back lines, which is nice. There'll be some decent value fullbacks that you can plug into your lineups. But if there's a lot of rotation, you might not really particularly need value. And then if let's just assume that a player like Luka Modric starts or Ivan Perisic starts and a Kovacic starts, how many minutes are they going to play? That's going to be a big issue as well. Like maybe, normally in a competitive match, we would expect Modric to play a full 90 minutes. He's not subbing off under any circumstances, but he's going to have a busy club season for the rest of the season for Real Madrid and maybe one of his last games for the national team. So maybe they want to give him a sending off, in the 70th minute or something like that. And similar for Perisic. Like, how can Perisic play 90 full minutes? He never even plays 90 minutes for Tottenham Hotspur. And again, it is a competitive match. It's third place, but these Croatian guys, they got second place last cycle. So I don't know. The motivation is going to be kind of a question mark. So even if these guys do play, do you actually want to play them? And that's a difficult question as well. I mean, I haven't even dig into the Moroccan side, but similar things apply to those guys as well. But perhaps Morocco is a little bit more motivated than Croatia, all things considered.
Right. Is Perisic your favorite player?
I was a sucker for Christian Eriksen back in the day, so he was my favorite Tottenham player. Broke my heart when I left, but I'm just a Son guy. Everyone loves Son. How can you hate the guy?
I know, like, you're a Tottenham guy, but you have the Croatia kit. So I was thinking, that combines both teams there. You got
Yeah,
Perisic.
yeah, Perisic. I like Perisic. Luka Modric. He's a Tottenham Hotspur legend
Granted,
as
Perisic
well.
has been there for 5 months, so
Well, I mean, he kind of he's slid in seamlessly. It feels like.
yeah. Um. So yeah, I'd say I guess we can try and guess some substitutions here. So for Croatia, I'd say the back four probably pretty good for 90. And then it's going to be five guys out of the six getting subbed off early for Croatia. We already pretty much know that the front two are already getting subbed off no matter what. But I'd say Lavro Meyer will be the guy going 90 in the midfield. And then whoever starts around him will be the sub risks, I'd say. That's, again, obviously we don't know who's starting, but that's going to be my guess there.
Yeah,
As for Morocco, I don't even know if I can guess right there.
I can't possibly guess with Morocco. Yeah,
Because if Hakimi starts, he'd be a sub risk as well.
Yeah, you have to think. I mean, you feel like it's going to be a home game for Morocco, so even then, the manager will want to give them, a nice standing ovation, that type of moment. I mean, it's corny, but these things affect the players' minutes, and that affects how well we can project them to do. So that's like important. And Hakimi has a decent price tag associated to him. I think I'll have to look it back up. Yeah, 8.6K. Do you want to play 8.6K for Hakimi in this spot? I don't know. It feels a bit gross. Just going back to Lovro Meyer, though, he kind of seems promising. He might take free kicks. He's subbed on late, and he's taken a couple corners for Croatia. I think he does cross a lot for club based on my quick research there. So he seems like a promising play. I think that's going to be one that you're going to want to be on in cash games and tournaments. Hopefully people just don't know who he is and don't play him, because that might be one of the edges that we have on this slate.
Well, I guess before we get into DFS here, how do you think this match is going to go? So always these third place games. I think I gave you the stat: 10 of the last 11 have finished with at least 3 goals. So we take that into account. The implied total is 2.76. So I mean, you can still take over. I think you're still getting close to even odds if you want to take over 2.5 goals on this one right now. I'm going to plug that one in before tomorrow at least, because I assume this number is going to go up. I assume it's going to be, this implied total might be 2.9, closer to to game start, I'd guess. Um, but I mean, you look at both these teams; both are maybe more defensive. Two basically defensive teams. That's why the implied total is 2.76 here. If it was different teams who were scoring bunches, maybe even allowing more goals, this would be an implied total above 3.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much that matters here. So like I assume Morocco aren't going to play the same style that they've played in previous matches in general. Like they're not going to sit back and go on the counter. They're gonna go for it. Similar
Yeah.
to I guess the final 45 in that France match where they were on the front foot of the majority of the time there. So I figure they're going to go. That's going to open up. Croatia are going to have opportunities against basically 3 backups on Morocco's back line. So I think there's going to be goals here. It just depends on who scores them, and if you want a goal from someone who's going 45 minutes, or if you want just to play guys that you think are going to go 90 minutes. I don't know.
Just try to collect all the floors and things like that. Yeah, I agree with you completely. It feels like if this ended up being the final, that the implied goal total would be like half a goal lower just because it might be a more cagey affair. But this one should be a little bit more relaxed. There's less at stake. You feel that both, Morocco probably want to open up. They looked pretty good against France. I don't think they played poorly against France, and they definitely created some chances, like that ridiculous El Yumika bicycle kick that Hugo had to save, Hugo Lloris. So I do expect this to be a more open game. I mean, Morocco's defense is it's the skeleton crew at this point, and you're basically going to get the Croatian junior varsity team. So that's going to open up a route for Morocco to attack if they play their more experienced players, especially at the start. I mean, as far as substitutes, I mean, we don't even know who's going to start. How do we know who's going to get subbed on? So you might just have to do your best and just pray a little bit.
Yeah, I'd also another thing with lineups, not even for DFS, but like for a guy like Gavardiol, he's not guaranteed to start. I mean, I know he's 20. Fitness probably is a concern, but I mean, he does play regularly for his club team, and this is a pointless game. You don't want to get injured in a pointless game. But also, if anyone has been watching Croatia, Domagoj Vida has been on the bench. He was a guy who was a regular starter in their World Cup run 4 years ago. There's a chance it could be Vida and Lovren back there, two, I don't know, 34, 35-year-old center backs in this match. So if you see something like that, that's just even more of a reason to go with the goals, go with goal scorers, take the over, that kind of a thing. So
yeah, I think Gavardiol will start. I thought I saw a tweet. He brought cake for all of the journalists. So what a guy. But
yeah, he brought cake because he's done. He's done in the tournament. He's done playing.
A thank you present. It seemed like I would expect him to start, but like I said, anything can happen. If Gvardiol doesn't play, I mean, like he's a really good defender, and then you just have like Dijon Lover, and I remember he was kind of a running joke for Liverpool. So I mean, that opens things up a ton if he doesn't start as well. That is worth paying attention to.
So for cash games, I'd say the move is not going to be Modric here. Maybe, maybe. I don't
Maybe.
think you play him though because we already said he's probably not going to go 90 here. He may, if he's again. This is of course all this stuff is if he starts, of course. So if he starts, probably 55, 70 minutes, something like that.
It's what I would
45 to
guess.
55.
I would guess like 70. Maybe I'm more optimistic than you.
Yeah, that still seems like a lot for a game that doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like he's not playing club level. So
I mean, it matters like a little bit, right? Like I guess, I don't know. I don't want to say that the third place game in the World Cup just flat out doesn't matter. It's
it
tough to.
doesn't.
Third
Who
place
cares?
is pretty good.
Who cares? Should we look up recent like third place matches? Like who won the previous one? Was it England? England lost against Belgium or something 2-0. I mean, no one remembers that England lost that game, right?
Yeah. I feel like I would have guessed that England lost that game, but that's more just making fun of England. I don't know. Maybe Belgium really cared. You're more likely to be right, especially from the Croatian team's point of view. They're going to be disappointed they weren't in the final. they didn't make that return to the final. So that's a fair point. Yeah, but Modric, especially
Versus
if Meyer starts and is a threat to the set pieces, the only reason you captain Modric is because he does take corners for Croatia. He might take penalties while he's on the pitch, and so that's definitely a factor. But if Meyer's on the pitch, I think it's unwise to captain Modric when you could just captain Ziyech instead, or take a different route entirely.
Yeah, my one worry for Modric is that Croatia get a PK in the first half and then he scores and
Then you need him.
people are going to play him because I mean, who else are you going to play on this slate? People will play him. um, so that's the worry is he'll get a PK at 70% or something and maybe only have 3 floor points, may not matter. So
It doesn't matter in that case. But I mean, if Modric is 70%, given all the uncertainty, I think it's a good play just to embrace the uncertainty. And if that happens, lose. I mean, I don't know. That's just my point of view, especially in tournaments. In cash games, you might have the salary for Modric and you might just want that, security. There's no reason to fade a really popular Modric in double ups.
for
Uh,
uh for cash games, Captain Barisic, and then fill everything else out. Is that a good strategy here?
Captain Barisic.
Yeah.
What's the thesis there? I was considering doing the lower priced captain as well, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Well, I mean, you assume he's one of the guys who will be going 90 minutes. He's a fullback, and it'll be an up and down match, so there will be crosses.
Hmm.
And I mean, he kind of allows you to plug in these other guys who you don't really know about. He allows you to plug in multiple Croatia high end guys like Modric or Meyer, or if Orsic starts, I guess he's in that conversation as well. And then I mean Ziyech is up there as well. It just allows you to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the lineup that I assume that you're looking at based on the comments with that switch, and I think that's a pretty good lineup right there. You have a bunch of guys with ceilings who are somewhat reliable, and Barisic should have a good role as a fullback, and he won't fall too far behind these other guys. No captain particularly stands out from a floor points, even if these teams were motivated, right? Then I mean, I think if you look at the floor points chart on the cheat sheet, no one separates themselves. So because of that, I agree that there's probably going to be less opportunity cost in quote unquote downgrading a captain, even though it might not be a downgrade because, like you said, it's a really good point that Barisic has a lot of minutes. That type of construction, I'm a big fan of. You could play Perisic if you wanted to. He's one of the more likely goal scorers on the slate, even though he'll likely be subbed off early. But you could, if you wanted to play Perisic over Modric, I wouldn't, I wouldn't quibble too much about that. So I like it.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like a. So we're talking about these guys going off in the 60th, 70th minute, and a lot of times in I guess not in certain matches, like nothing happens in the final 20 minutes of a certain match. Like maybe the better team is winning, so they're holding onto the ball, and neither team like wants to do anything, so nothing happens. But I feel like in the third place game, there's not a ton on the line. I think that it'll just be up and down no matter at what point, no matter what's happening in the final 20 minutes. I think there will just be if Croatia's losing, like they're gonna put their foot forward, they're gonna go for it. If Morocco are losing, then I mean that'll open up for Barisic and the fullbacks to get forward on the counter or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing for if you want to captain a Modric or Ziyech, I'd say my two options are Barisic and Meyer because I know those guys are, or maybe I don't know. I think those guys are more likely to play a 90. I would captain them, but you can also because we have so many cheap guys here that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really help you that much to captain a cheap guy because like you have an Atiat Allah at 3,400. Seems like he's going to start. It's a good possibility. He was pretty good in his lone start of the tournament. And you have Stanisic down here as well. Seems like he's going to start a fullback for Croatia. He's 4,600.
Hmm.
And then not even for cash here, but for tournaments, you have all these Croatia forwards who could be starting. Like Budimir is 4,000. He could be starting in the front three. Pasalic could be starting. He's 3,600. He could be in the front three. So like there's not a ton of reason to spend down at captain because there's so many cheap guys that you can plug into your lineup. I mean, we're just looking at the odds here. Budimir is 4K, and he has about the same odds to score as Kramaric. So
it's pretty good. I think maybe just thinking out loud and pushing this thought a little bit more, there is no real like slam dunk, like high end play that we want to do. I mean, Chan is in the chat saying this match is going to mean a ton to Morocco, so maybe Ziyech is a pretty good high end captain. It's very easy to imagine that Morocco take this match more seriously than Croatia. It's a home, like we said, it's a home game, and third place would be a bigger deal to them, given their sort of record-setting run, for lack of a better word.
yeah.
So it makes me think that maybe, like, if you think about captain spot utilization, there's not going to be like a concentrated captain option. The captains are probably going to be spread out in this showdown. And this means if someone scores a goal, you're less likely to need them as a captain. And maybe maybe like a lower cost play like a Barisic, you can get away. Like Barisic allows you to get a couple more scratch off tickets at that goal instead of forcing yourself to captain one of those players. And that Barisic captain still will have outs to a good floor, possibly contributing to a goal in some way. And maybe you just have like the goal and assist and the flex. Barisic does enough and you can still get there in tournaments just because it's less likely someone has. Okay, like if Petkovic starts, like how much is Petkovic going to be captained? So
How much are any of these guys going to be captain?
how much is anyone? So that is the case for maybe just taking one of these fullbacks and just trying to find the goals from there, in my opinion. Especially if you think there's going to be a lot of goals, you might want to, if there's 3 different players that score a goal and they're all in the 9,000 range, maybe you want a slightly less expensive captain so you can fit that in. It makes sense, and it makes sense from a just raw projection point of view too. So I think this idea is pretty smart by you, and I'm glad you brought it up.
What are your thoughts on Hakimi here?
It's expensive, and I'm not too terribly interested in that because I think given the uncertainty, I would like to avoid popular but uncertain players. And I feel like Hakimi is going to be the definition of a popular and uncertain player. And if he crushes, then so be it. I lose. But yeah, that's basically my my quick take. I don't know how much attacking upside he really has. I mean, he'll take some shots and stuff, and maybe I'm being a little prejudiced because he doesn't attack as much for PSG. But I don't know. I'd rather captain Ziyech. They're close enough in price, and I don't need the money. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who's going to be subbed here for Morocco. You'll have the 2 forwards outside of Ziyech. And I mean, it just depends who starts in the midfield. It's just really hard to say.
yeah, well, Buffal is definitely coming out, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to the commenter who captained Buffal.
I guess even if it's like as Abdi or whoever else is in here, Abakal, like those guys aren't going to be going 90 either. I don't think like those guys have barely been playing in the tournament, so why would they go 90? So
No, 2 of their forwards would definitely be subbed. I don't know their other subbing tendencies though. They've usually like the subs have been dictated by game situation in these knockouts, right? So it's tough
yeah,
to believe that to project anything.
Yeah, they've been. I mean, a lot of it's been injury as well. I mean, we saw last
Yeah,
match
Saiss.
Saiss, and then Mazraoui came off for Atiat Allah, I think, at halftime. So, so yeah, that one's a little harder to project there. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think of trying to get other captain ideas here for tournaments. I'd say if you're on like the Morocco side and you think that they're gonna win, I'd say your Croatia pieces should be. I'd look at Barisic, Orsic, and Lavro Meyer. Those are the 3 guys I'd look at because you got Barisic. We already talked about Barisic, but then you got possible set pieces with the other guys. Maybe more likely for a 90 for Lavro Meyer. So that's who I'd look at. Though again, I mean, if you're thinking like a 3-3 match, I mean, you could plug in whoever starts at forward, but
Yeah, it's not so easy what you want to do. One thing that we do have is that the goalkeepers are probably not going to be subbed, right? So even if there are some goals, maybe that means that there's some game scripts where one of these goalkeepers gets a bunch of saves, right? If it's an open game, maybe there's a bunch of shots from distance. Maybe something like that can happen. And in that type of situation, maybe if you captain a Bono, maybe there's like a sub goal and you miss out on that. But then, he might still be live for some save points and a win and some win points. And maybe that's a good tournament option as well. So these in flex and in captain. So that's something worth considering, right? We're worried about projected minutes, but goalkeepers, I mean, I'm not worried about projected minutes there whatsoever. So make some
so
good plays, I think.
so for Bono here, the problem with Bono is, well, the question here. So Morocco have played a certain way throughout the entire tournament, and that really hasn't led to a lot of saves for Bono. Um,
No,
he's only made more than one save in one match in the tournament, but now they're playing differently, so maybe that kind of comes into the equation as well. So would you have a preference there? Would you go Livakovic here or Bono? I'd just say Livakovic just
I
because
agree.
even if Morocco maybe want this match more, maybe they're going to be attacking more. We just saw last match where they don't have they don't have a Messi, they don't have an Mbappe, a Giroud, a guy who's going to score when given so many opportunities. They had a lot of chances to score against France, they couldn't do it. So I mean, maybe they're just plugging away. They get 20 plus shots, maybe
Yep.
up to 10 shots on target. Even if they score two, what if Livakovic is sitting here with 8 saves? So
Then he's sitting pretty. I mean, that's a really good flex play, and I think it's just a good option, just for exactly that reason that you outlined. Maybe one question I have that's impossible to answer is, both these teams do play defensively. That's their reputation. We mentioned it earlier in the show. Is the field going to treat it that way? Or is the field going to say, oh, this is a third place game and 10 out of 11 of these games have gone over 3 goals? That sort of will dictate how you want to play it as well. I'm trying to get at, are the goalkeepers going to be popular options because these teams play defensively? Are 1-0 option, are 1-0 constructions going to be used?
here, let me ask Chat GPT what it thinks about what's going to happen here. Now, it's an impossible question to answer. I have no idea.
Me neither. I think the one thing I know is that maybe name brand players are going to go overused,
Well, how
or maybe
much
just look elsewhere.
how
That might
much
be
of the
enough.
general public is going to be playing this slate because this is a smaller slate. 10K to the first place for the biggest tournament at DraftKings here. So maybe it's going to be more of like the regular Premier League players that are playing this, not so much like random NFL, NBA, whatever, jumping in to win money kind of a thing. Maybe it's just going to be a bunch of soccer players playing this game. So in that sense, I still don't know. Like,
No, no,
what?
no, that's a really good point. It feels like a Champions League slate, right? Champions League slates are often this, 40K GPP, 10K to first place.
Yeah,
I remember our first show we did with the Champions League, we were like, oh, are these Benfica were massive favorites, but we're like, oh, are people going to go PSG? And Benfica was chalk. So maybe that's a good point. So
people
maybe
will
that
look at the
means,
odds.
yeah, so I think we are going to play with players who know the player pool reasonably well. I mean, reasonably well. It's not going to be perfect. Um, and they probably will expect goals in that sense. So I don't know. There's not going to be like a huge strong lean, but yeah, I think it's wise not to. There's not going to be any like square players in there.
No,
It's not going to be easy, but
I would say for Livakovic, like we always talk about, oh, Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, those guys love taking shots outside the box. If you watch Morocco at all, Ziyech doesn't like passing to his teammates for the most part, and he loves kind of shooting the ball whenever there's an open
there you
chance
go.
to do it. Um, he did that many times against France. It seemed like the only guy he was comfortable passing to was Hakimi on his side. So I mean, if there you go, yeah.
There
There's
you
the
go.
saves right there. There's the Livakovic saves.
Yeah,
And
I like that.
do you think Morocco are going to get more than 2 goals? Probably
Sure.
not.
Oh,
It's
really?
possible, but yeah, sure, probably not, but maybe. But let's say 5 saves, 2 goals allowed, or more saves. Again,
Yep.
10 saves. Who cares?
It's
But
goalie.
then yeah, but then you're plugging in the I don't know, all the Morocco floor points, and you have enough money for, I don't know, Orsic, the Orsic goal or something like that. I don't know. Uh,
Or the Orsic 20 floor points. He's
yeah,
pretty
that's
good.
right.
He's a pretty good DFS friendly guy. I sort of hope he starts.
Hence his
I
max price here.
Yeah. Messi or Orsic. That's always the decision that we have to make
Yeah.
in these slates. I like that route a lot.
All right. You
And then you
got
can just try
any?
to find the Croatian goal.
What else do you want to talk about? We got 30 minutes to go to talk for an hour about this pointless game here. What do you got?
Yeah, then we have to turn our attention to the Birmingham Reading match that happens today. The much
That's right.
anticipated one.
We got to get off to set those lineups. If you are watching this live, we will be doing the final World Cup final show at 12:30 Eastern. That's about an hour and a half from right now. So check that out. Ryan Belangi will be on the show. He didn't, we didn't get him on this show because we're just messing around. We're just warming up the vocal cords on this one.
This is for fun.
Yeah, this one is just for fun.
Well,
Obviously,
I've actually learned
10K,
something too. So
10K compared to 100K.
yeah, well, you know, I'll take either. I want to address Chris's comment in the chat, which has to do with coffee from the straw. We're at it right here.
Sure.
And I just want to say it helps avoid getting your teeth stained. So shout out drinking your coffee out of a straw. It's not a nerdy thing to do whatsoever. Hey,
Okay. All
shout
right.
out to my dentist.
That's good.
Any,
That's
but
good.
tournament angles I want to consider. No, I think that Barisic idea is fantastic in cash games and in tournaments. And I sort of do fancy Croatia to win this one, but Morocco to score a goal. So this route that you talked about with the Ziyech, Livakovic ceiling correlation where Ziyech takes a bunch of shots.
Livakovic.
Livakovic, oh my goodness. Well, I'm fired. You have you have this sort of, little correlation that you can tinker around with. And then, just hit whack-a-mole with the Croatian goals and minutes. And I think I'll probably just avoid Luka Modric, given that he might not take set pieces. Like if Orsic and Meyer on there, it's tough to imagine Modric taking set pieces. So I'll just sweat not having a penalty being taken and try to hit all the Croatian pieces and play the Moroccan floor guys. I think sounds like a 10K winner to me.
Yeah, I just go the all 90 route. Play the guys who are going to go 90, which unfortunately doesn't include any Croatia forwards.
Well, you have to score a goal or you have to go 90. So if you're like middling, like Kovacic, okay, I mean, people are going to play him because he's been a pretty decent play. But if he might get subbed off early, get his standing ovation, and he's not much of a goal threat. So maybe avoid pitfalls like that.
All right, so Livakovic captain. I got Meyer in here, Barisic in here, Ziyech in here.
Orsic in there too, please.
Who?
Orsic.
Oh, Orsic. This
If
is
we
the
can
all
afford
90, you think?
Oh, yeah. Okay, the all 90. Okay, so no Orsic. Bummer.
Stanisic? Wait, we need Atia Allah. He's going 90. And then
We're
we got
gonna leave 20K on the board.
no, remaining salary 0. I just did it.
Oh my
I just
goodness.
did it.
Easy.
Livakovic, Meyer, Barisic, Ziyech, Atiat Allah, Orsic. Let's go.
Just such an easy game. Please give us 90 minutes of Orsic.
Let's go.
Let's
We're
go.
there. 10K. All right, you got anything else? We got to take an hour-long break here before the big show of the day.
No, I'm gonna recharge my brain, get ready to think about this this final. It'll be great to win this final after I win this third place GPP. So
there you go. I won $15 on college basketball last night. I'm ready to go.
Oh, that's time to reinvest right back into the market right there.
Goal projections here. What do we got? You said Croatia's going to win. So what's the score?
Let's go with the Croatia win 3-2. I'm going to take Orsic with a goal.
3-2.
I'm going to take a Petkovic sub goal. And then let's put someone random who gets a goal. I don't know. Stanisic randomly scores a goal because that just happens. And then on the other side, you're going to get a Ziyech goal. And then Unani, he's going to get his goal. He's been a great player this World Cup and he deserves it. So
Yeah,
that's
true.
my projection.
I'm going 2-1 Morocco. Ziyech
Ooh,
and going back to Boufal. Boufal is going to get something.
back to the well.
And then who's going to last guy to score for Croatia? What do we got? Petkovic, we got Pasalic. Let's go to Livaja. He hasn't I don't even think he's been playing
Ooh,
lately because he was bad.
we didn't mention him. That would be a good play if he
No, he
starts.
came off the bench against Argentina. So all right, there we go. Livaja off the bench. Golden. Let's
There you
go.
go.
All
Book it.
right. See everyone for the main Argentina France discussion later in the day. But this has been Croatia, Morocco for Saturday's showdown at DraftKings. You can find Jack at Jack Burkart on Twitter. I am at Zdroik. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, free 2-day trial. And guess what? We have Premier League back 10 days from now. So you're going to want all this stuff. You're going to want, what do you want? Defense versus position stats? Do you want team stats, player stats? You want all this stuff, really.
I like DFS trends. That's a nice tab to look at. Or is it team
You want,
trends? One of those is a good tab.
yeah, you want team trends here?
You get all the minutes. That's a really nice. It's a
There
super
you go.
nice tool, and then you can kind of see how you can see the set pieces evolve on the
Yeah, and
cheat
then
sheet as well.
you can select any of these here. You can select corners.
Yeah,
There
that
you
one kind
go.
of helps you out with if you like, you can try to look which player combination is on. Does someone take more corners when there's some different combination of dudes?
Look at
I don't
this
know.
interesting stat I found. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. You need a subscription to be able to look at this, but Granit Xhaka has 20 chances created this season, which is only 3 fewer than Martinelli. So,
Sounds like a Ryan Belangi special right
wow,
there.
how about
Like,
that? How about that number? All right, we'll see everyone for the later show. Thanks for watching. Thumbs
thanks,
up,
guys.
subscribe. We'll see everyone in a bit. Thanks, Jack.
Good luck.